There is a certain kind of magic reserved for childhood, a fleeting golden hour when the world feels vast, full of promise and untouched by darkness. For those who grew up in the late 1970s and early 1980s, that magic often radiated from television screens. It was a time when innocence, or at least the longing for it, was carefully preserved. And its guardians were often children themselves, young actors who lit up the screen with charm and unshakable presence. Among them, one of the brightest was a little girl named Bridgette Andersen. In 1982, her unforgettable performance in the beloved family film Savannah Smiles made her more than just a child actress. She became the embodiment of childhood wonder, gifted with a genius-level IQ and a natural charisma that seemed far beyond her years. She captivated audiences with her luminous smile. She was the runaway sweetheart of America, the child who melted the hearts of two hardened convicts on screen, and an entire generation beyond it. To millions, her life looked like a fairy tale. But Hollywood, the same machine that crafts dreams, is equally adept at breaking them. Bridgette's story did not end with applause and adoration. Instead, it descended into the painful silence that follows when the lights fade and the world moves on. Hers is not just the familiar tale of a child star undone by fame. It is the heartbreaking journey of a brilliant soul asked to shine too brightly, too soon, until the darkness consumed her. A prodigy emerges. Bridgette Leanne Andersen was born on July 11, 1975, in Inglewood, California, to Frank and Teresa Andersen. Though her parents were not part of Hollywood, fate soon placed their gifted daughter in its path. The family eventually moved to Malibu, a place of stunning coastline and celebrity neighbors. From her earliest years, Bridgette displayed a brilliance that stunned even seasoned adults. By age 2, she was reading fluently, not just sounding out words but comprehending them with ease. The most famous anecdote occurred in a restaurant where, bored in her high chair, she picked up a menu and read it aloud from beginning to end. A talent agent dining nearby watched in amazement, instantly recognizing her extraordinary potential. Approaching the family, he declared, "You have a star on your hands." Frank and Teresa were cautious. They were not stage parents chasing fame. Yet their daughter's restless curiosity and eagerness to perform made it impossible to ignore her gift. Allowing her to explore it, they soon saw Hollywood confirm what that agent had predicted. Commercials quickly followed, one after another. Bridgette's angelic features, piercing blue eyes, and uncanny ability to take direction made her a director's dream. She wasn't just cute. She was a professional in miniature, able to deliver with precision. Yet this was only the beginning. Savannah Smiles in stardom. Actor and writer Mark Miller had an idea for a family film about a runaway child but lacked inspiration. That changed the day he met 6-year-old Bridgette. Utterly captivated by her spirit, he wrote Savannah Smiles specifically for her. The film told the story of Savannah, the daughter of a distracted politician, who runs away and ends up in the company of two bumbling convicts. What begins as a kidnapping plot transforms into a tender story of love, family, and redemption, all because of the little girl's radiant presence. On set in Salt Lake City, Bridgette stunned cast and crew with her memory, professionalism, and emotional depth. Donovan Scott, who played one of the convicts, recalled that she memorized not only her own lines but the entire script. Mark Miller once struggled with a scene until Bridgette, barely 6, gently corrected him, delivering his line with the right inflection. He later described her as a tiny Orson Welles. Released in 1982, Savannah Smiles was not a massive box office hit, but through cable television and VHS rentals it became a beloved cult classic. At its heart was Bridgette, funny, vulnerable, and heartbreakingly authentic. Her future looked limitless. Television fame. Following Savannah Smiles, Bridgette became one of Hollywood's most sought-after child stars. She played young Mae West in a television biopic, appeared on popular shows like Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, and Remington Steele, and even sparred wittily with Johnny Carson on late-night TV. In 1986, she landed a role in Disney's The Parent Trap II, starring alongside Hayley Mills. For several years, it seemed Bridgette was navigating Hollywood's treacherous waters successfully. Yet the industry harbors a cruel truth. Child stars are adored for their cuteness, a currency that vanishes with age. The adolescent void. As the 1980s ended, Bridgette grew into adolescence. The cherubic face audiences adored gave way to the angular features of a young woman. The roles stopped coming. Hollywood, so eager to embrace her as a child, now seemed confused about where she fit. This is a perilous stage for many young actors, and Bridgette was no exception. For her entire childhood, her worth had been tied to acting. When the work dried up, she was left with a terrifying question. If I am not Bridgette Andersen, the actress, then who am I? Her parents tried to provide stability. She attended public school in Malibu, but that only intensified her sense of alienation. To classmates, she was neither a celebrity nor just another student. Her intelligence, once celebrated, now marked her as different. In her search for identity, Bridgette turned toward rebellion, reinvention, and dissent. She embraced the goth subculture of the late 1980s and early 90s, dyeing her blonde hair black, wearing dark clothing, and immersing herself in melancholic music. This was not a superficial fashion statement, but a rejection of the wholesome image forced upon her. She was no longer Savannah. She was forging a new self. But that self was accompanied by darker choices. Through her new circle of friends, Bridgette was introduced to drugs. Heroin became her escape, offering warmth, silence, and a way to numb the weight of disappointment and identity loss. Her relationship with her family fractured. Though her parents pleaded with her to seek help and arranged for treatment, she resisted, interpreting their concern as control. Eventually, she became estranged, choosing the company of fellow users over the family she once adored. A quiet decline. Her downward spiral led her far from the limelight. To support herself, Bridgette worked as a cashier at a Lowe's Angels Health food store, an almost cruel irony for someone quietly destroying herself with drugs. Shoppers buying organic produce never suspected that the withdrawn young woman behind the register had once been a star. The final days. By 1997, Bridgette was 21 and fully in the grip of addiction. On May 16, inside a convenience store with friends, she overdosed on a fatal mix of heroin and alcohol. Fearful of legal trouble, those around her delayed calling for help. By the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. She was rushed to the hospital, placed on life support, and her estranged parents were summoned. For 2 days, Frank and Teresa held vigil at their daughter's bedside, but the overdose had deprived her brain of oxygen. Doctors delivered the devastating verdict. There was no chance of recovery. On May 18, 1997, the machines were turned off. Bridgette Andersen, once the little girl with the unforgettable smile, was gone. The aftermath and legacy. Her death drew little media attention. For most, her name was just a faint echo from the 1980s. Yet the quietness of her passing makes her story more haunting. It highlights Hollywood's brutal indifference, an industry quick to profit from a child's gift but unwilling to protect their future. Mark Miller, the man who wrote Savannah Smiles for her, later said she was too bright for this world. Her sensitivity, once her greatest strength, became her greatest burden. Bridgette's life is a reminder that child stars are not commodities. They are children navigating adult pressures, and many are left with scars too deep to heal. For every survivor like Drew Barrymore, there are countless others, like Bridgette Andersen, Dana Plato, and Anna Jones, who did not escape. Her legacy lives on through Savannah Smiles, where her authenticity still shines. But her full story demands more than nostalgia. It challenges us to re-examine our cultural obsession with childhood fame and to recognize the human cost behind the entertainment we consume. The greatest tragedy is not only her death but the potential lost. What might she have accomplished with her extraordinary mind? Could she have found peace, perhaps as a writer, director, or teacher? We will never know. The best way to honor her is to hold both truths, to cherish the joy she gave and to mourn the pain that silenced her. She was more than Savannah. She was Bridgette, and her story should never be forgotten.